Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Commodity TV here in Herisau, our new studios, and with me here is Dr. Keith Barron, the CEO and Chairman of Aurania Resources, and we want to talk about your lovely company. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time today. It was quite spontaneous, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I always loved that because we had no time at PDAC, honestly. Aurania, maybe can you give us a short overview? Where are you working? Where are you based?
Well, our office is in Toronto, but our field area is in Ecuador.
Yeah.
So we're in South America, and we're down near the Peruvian border, down in southeastern part of Ecuador, in a place called the Cordillera de Curucu.
Curucu, okay.
Yes. In fact, that's what the project's named, the Curucu Lost Cities Project.
Yeah, okay. And I think you have a very, very nice history and also successful history with Ecuador. Maybe you can elaborate shortly before we dive into the project, because you were the discoverer of Fruta del Norte, right?
Well, not me personally, but my company, of course, and which I founded in 2001. Yeah. Took it public in 2003, and then in 2006 we discovered the Fruta del Norte deposit. Almost 14 million ounces of gold and over 50 million ounces of silver. So that was a wonderful thing. And it's only actually 100 kilometers south of where we're presently working.
Wow, fantastic.
So we're back in the same belt, back in the same area, piece of real estate, more or less. Yeah. And it's great to be back there and hopefully create another success.
Yeah, exactly. And how large is the land package now you have assembled?
It's very large. It's actually more than twice what we had with Aurelian. So it's 208,000 hectares.
Wow, so
very
it's 2,080 square kilometers.
That's correct.
That's 5% of Switzerland.
Yes.
Jesus. Okay. Wow. Perfect. And I think you want to assemble some
probably
more.
Larger than some of the cantons.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Especially the Appenzell is not that large where we are here now. Yeah. Okay. Super. You did Fruta del Norte, then you sold it successfully to Kinross, then now you are back. And
that's right.
It looks to me a little bit like you want to repeat the success, right?
Oh, well,
hopefully.
I'd love to repeat the success or even do better. Yeah. So that's the objective. And so we're in an area that's, I think, especially prospective for copper porphyry and for gold and silver. We've already had some early success finding epithermal environments that we think when we get to eventually drilling will hopefully hit some gold and silver.
And may I ask, how did you come specially now on that property? Of course, you know Ecuador inside out. Yeah? And how did you come on that piece of land?
Well, this is a curious story. It'll take just a minute to tell you. I'll tell you the abbreviated version. I first went to Ecuador in 1998. I'd actually been living in Venezuela, and I was working for a diamond company, and Chavez was coming up. I owe a lot to Chavez. Okay. I'm probably the only mining executive who owns anything.
Probably, yes.
Yeah. to Chavez. But he was coming up for election, and my lawyer said to me, clear out because there'll be trouble in Venezuela. And I said, where should I go? He says, well, just go to another country because there might be shooting in the streets and things. And in fact, it was. So I cleared out and I decided to go to a Spanish school in Quito. I'd never been to Ecuador before. It was my very first time. I wanted to improve my Spanish, so I enrolled in the school. First day I was there, the school introduced me to a family, and they said, you're going to live with them for the next month and be in total Spanish immersion. And they've been given strict instructions never to speak English or anything else to you, just Spanish.
Okay.
Right? So that was fine. So the head of the household, his name was Professor Octavio La Torre. He was a professor of history. And he was delighted to meet me because I've been a geologist since the early 80s. And he had a very curious job, even though he was a professor of history. He had worked for the mines department in Ecuador, researching lost cities, lost mines of the Spanish conquistadors. There had been one that had been rediscovered in 1981, I kid you not, by two kids hunting wild pigs in the forest. No. And within 1 month of finding that, there were 25,000 miners rushed in. It was before they had a national mining law, so it was a free-for-all. They all rushed in and started producing gold, and on the record, it produced 2.7 million ounces of gold. Tremendous amount.
Wow, that's amazing, yeah?
Yeah.
Just with shovels and axes?
No. They went underground, down shafts and everything else. But nevertheless, the Spaniards walked away from essentially 3 million ounces of gold.
Yeah.
And so the Ecuadorian government knew there were other places like this in Ecuador, and they said, look, if we can secure the areas for the government and keep all the miners out, then we could vend the rights to Homestake or Barrick or whoever at the time. So they employed the professor together with another chap, and they went through all the archives in Ecuador looking for mentions of lost gold mines, and they found lots and lots of stuff. And so one evening I was sitting with Octavio, and he said to me, Keith, there were 7 famous mines in what was called the Audiencia de Quito. This became the Republic of Ecuador. 7 famous mines. One of them was never lost. That's Zaruma Portobello. That's still producing today. The others, 4 of them were recovered over time. 1, 2, 3, 4. The last one was Nambija in 1981, and 2 of them are still missing. He said one of them is called Logroño de los Caballeros. The other one's called Sevilla de Oro. And they were considered by contemporary authors, contemporary historians, to be the richest in the Spanish Empire. So I said, well, do you know where they are? And he says, I have a lot of information. So we dug that out of his attic and out of his office and got all the things and maps and things laid out and started systematically going through it. And I had to eventually go back to my job, so I went to see him again in 2000. And in 2000, we decided we were going to definitely start doing something about it. So what happened, I started up a company in January of 2001 after doing a lot of research in the libraries about Ecuador, in the Geological Survey of Canada Library, the U.S. Geological Library in Reston, Virginia, and decided I'm going to go ahead and do this. And went to the field in January 2001 and actually stumbled across a breccia pipe with gold in it. Not visible gold, but something that was so convincing that I knew I had to have that property. But it had nothing to do with the lost cities. And that became the nucleus property for all of Aurelian. So I started Aurelian, and the whole exploration kind of took a turn that way, and I never got back to the lost cities concept until Aurelian was sold.
Then you had time enough to do it again.
In 2008, and I had the money to finance the works. So then we took the whole thing. We went worldwide with the research. We went to Lima, we went to Madrid, we went to Seville, spent 2 years in the Archive of the Indies in Seville, in Spain, and we hired 2 archivists. They worked for us for a year and a half, and we literally found hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of documents, testimonials, wills, all kinds of things, court judgments, lots and lots of things. People who had lived in these areas, especially soldiers who had defended it, would go to the Spanish crown and they'd say, they petition the king for an award, a pension, a piece of land, a noble title, something like that. And this was all recorded by court scribes and ended up in the archives. So this wonderful thing. And then eventually after that, it just so happened Octavio's brother was the ambassador of the Holy See, and he got us into the Vatican. So we were in the
Vatican here in Rome.
In the Vatican Library, So we went to the Vatican Library. We didn't meet the Pope. Came pretty close, but we didn't meet the Pope. But on my second visit, I was looking specifically for one book in the manuscript library, and I found it from 1627, and it's called the Description and Compendium of the West Indies. It's by a Carmelite priest who lived in the New World for 22 years, and he was in Ecuador in 1614, baptized 4,000 natives when he was there. And so he wrote several chapters of this book concerned with Ecuador. and one of them is labeled the province, it's the city of Sevilla de Oro in the province of Macas. It's right across the top of the page, and it gives a description how to get there from the town of Riobamba. And Riobamba has actually never ever moved. It's still in the same place. It's a population center today. So you can read through this, and it says, you know, you go up this river and you change here and you go here and towards this road. And anyway, it talks about the eventual destruction of Logroño de los Caballeros. And then halfway down the page it says, La tierra más rica de oro que hay en todas las Indias. The earth is richer in gold than all of the Indies.
Wow.
Which is really a remarkable thing. It's and believe me, I didn't pay the promoter to write this. This guy.
No, I believe that. It must be a very old book, right?
It's 1627. So it's an incredible piece.
Yeah.
And so I actually got to handle the book, and the Vatican prepared photographic reproductions for me. So fast forward to today. Well, really, to March of 2016, so 2 years ago, I applied for this land when, after 7 years of a moratorium, you were finally able to get property in Ecuador. So 7 years it was closed. The cadastral, what they call the mining registry of the cadastral, was closed. You couldn't do anything. So in that time, we were busy doing our historical work, and we knew what property we wanted, and it just so happened, and talk about serendipity. I mean, serendipity plays a lot. I mean, how should I know that the person that I'm going to live with at the Spanish school actually knows something about geology and lost cities and all the rest of it? It's like it was crazy, preordained, right?
Yeah.
But with serendipity, the lost cities could have been anywhere else in Ecuador, but they end up being in the same mineral belt north of where I was with Aurania back in 2001 up to 2008. So just 100 kilometers to the north.
Yeah, that makes every sense, yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, Richard Spencer, who's my president of my company, found all the porphyry copper deposits that are also in that belt. 3 of those are in pre-production right now. Fruta del Norte, as of today, is 400 meters underground, digging the shafts, and that'll be in production next year. So, it's a great piece of real estate to be in. That's a very, very important point.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have it's like, let's say, greenfield for sure, yeah?
Yeah, it
on the
is.
one hand, totally.
It's
so
about as virgin
what
as
is the
you can
work program for this year?
Well, we started the exploration last year. We flew an airborne survey over the entire thing. So we did magnetism radiometrics looking for porphyry copper. Got a number of targets, number of magnetic targets that leapt out at us. We're investigating those now. And also, we started systematic stream sediment work. And this is very simple-minded, but it's a technique that is really, really strong, works really well. What we do, we walk up the streams. Every 400 meters, you take several shovels full of material from the bed of the creek or the stream, and you put it through a screen, and you want to get the really fine silt and clay. And that material we send off to a laboratory, 300 grams of it. And when clay is that small, it has actually electrical properties, and if there's metal ions that are dissolved in the water, they can be adsorbed onto the surface of the clay. So what we do, we analyze this stuff, and then we plot it on GIS, a geographic information system, basically a map, on the sample points. And we, they're weighted and color-coded according to the results that we get. And so what we do, you're looking for your areas of highest concentration. You follow them up the streams. And it's just the same way that prospectors would look for gold for thousands of years, except this is improved because now we look for other metals as well that can be pathfinders for gold. Fruta del Norte had no gold on surface, but it had a lot of arsenic antimony, and mercury. Very, very high levels.
So those were good signs.
Yeah, and we found they're what are called pathfinders for epithermal systems. So we analyzed, we found high levels of them in the stream sediments. It guided us to the spots, and then we drilled. And 125 meters more or less down, we hit what's called the boiling zone. We hit the area where the gold veins had formed. So what we had on the surface was what we call a leakage zone. It was a very weak geothermal kind of hot spring thing. And so what we found now in Ecuador, a present project, we call it the La Torre target after the professor who passed away in August of last year, very sadly. But we have 5 targets now in that area. And lo and behold, we're finding the same sort of things. Enrichments in arsenic, antimony, mercury, other exotic things like thallium, selenium, which can also be pathfinders, high silver in some places, some gold, but not a heck of a lot of gold, but that's not what we expect. And then we find evidence of hot spring activity at the surface. So just the same, it's almost like a blueprint for what we had at Fruta del Norte. We're very, very excited about this. And the funny thing is that the only reason we started in this area sampling is because it had road access, and we had to start somewhere. And within 2 weeks of starting the field work, one of the geologists comes back from the field with a big chunk of rock like this, which is a hydrothermal breccia. We said, holy smokes, we found it. So within weeks we had a drill target, the first one.
And you have drilled already?
No,
that's coming
yet.
later, right?
That'll, we have to firm up things more, and we don't want to have just one target because this is a natural system, and sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. More often you miss, and you want to maximize your odds of having a discovery.
Absolutely,
So we want to drill a minimum of 5 targets. It'll be sometime later on this year, in the third quarter of this year, and we'll give it a go. But that's not going to be the whole story, because remember, we have 208,000 hectares. We've only prospected 8 concessions out of the 42. It's ongoing, and it's taking time. It will, we're not just treasure hunters here. We're scientists. I have a PhD, and we're doing things by the book in a technologically sound manner. And so, there'll be more and more targets generated as the exploration carries on.
Then, of course, let's talk a little bit about your financial structure, I would call it. How many shares do you have out, and who are the largest shareholders?
Well, we've kept it very nice and tight. And the reason why people did very, very well with Aurania is because our share structure was very tight. So right now we have approximately, with the warrants that came in recently, about 30 million shares outstanding. I own more than 50% of the company.
Oh, that's healthy.
Yeah. So, and insiders own 61%. So it is tightly held. We do expect to make a discovery here. We're not just playing around. So, if we have positive results, and I think we will, that's going to drive up the share price because there's not a heck of a lot of liquidity right now. Over time, as we do raises, you'll see that situation change. But I don't want to do raises at a lower price. I want the results coming in.
No dilution.
Of course.
Except positive dilution, I call it.
And the other thing that's important, I'd like to add, is that I'm not taking a salary. Like almost everybody else in the business. So, people raise money and then they take that money back out of the treasury to pay themselves.
You don't need it, of course, because
I'm not doing it.
You had the last success.
I
think you were retired and then you found it boring, right?
I retired for about 3 weeks. What am I going to do? Go to the beach or something?
Maybe play golf, a single handicap or something like that. I don't know. No, but thank God you are back in the business and doing the right stuff. And I'm pretty sure we will hear a lot of more from you. Because now you are really in the greenfield phase. You are like I call it the truffle pigs. You're running around sniffing for the big gold and the copper and whatever you will find. I would say. And then later the year we see the drills turning, right?
Fantastic.
Super.
Yes.
That sounds good. Well, Keith, thank you very much. See you soon, hopefully. And we look forward to some good news flow then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there was Dr. Keith Barron, the CEO and chairman of Aurania Resources, and you heard it. Well, it is greenfield, of course. It's a pretty early phase, but this is exactly what this world needs, because we are running out of commodities, we are running out of resources, and we need new major mines, new large stuff. And I mean, Keith did it one time, yeah, and hopefully he will really repeat it again, because this is what we are here for, and we will keep you posted. So check out the company. Thanks for watching us. Bye bye from Switzerland.
Bye bye.